Iran's Revolutionary Guard says one of its drones completed a lawful mission in international waters, successfully transmitting intelligence data before mysteriously going silent. The United States military says it shot that drone out of the sky. The sharply conflicting accounts from Tehran and Washington are raising the stakes in the Arabian Sea as tensions between Iran and the United States edge closer to open conflict. According to Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, the unmanned aircraft was conducting what it called a routine and legal reconnaissance operation, monitoring maritime activity and capturing aerial images in international waters. Iranian state-linked Tasnim news agency quoted an informed source claiming the drone, identified as a Shahed 129, successfully transmitted surveillance images back to its control center before communication was suddenly lost. Iran says the reason for that loss of contact remains under investigation and that further details will be released once technical reviews are complete. But within hours of those claims, the U.S. military issued a sharply different version of events. U.S. Central Command confirmed that a Navy fighter jet shot down an Iranian drone that was approaching the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln while operating in international waters. According to Central Command, the drone was not conducting neutral surveillance, but aggressively moved toward the carrier with what the military described as unclear intent. The statement says U.S. forces took de-escalatory steps, but the drone continued flying directly toward the ship, forcing a defensive response. That response came from an F-35C fighter jet launched from the USS Abraham Lincoln itself, which destroyed the drone mid-air. The U.S. identified the aircraft as a Shahed 139, adding another layer of uncertainty over which drone model was actually involved. Central Command confirmed the carrier was operating roughly 800 kilometers from Iran's southern coastline at the time of the incident. U.S. officials stressed that no American personnel were injured and no equipment was damaged during the engagement. But the drone shoot-down was not an isolated incident. According to U.S. officials, it occurred within hours of another confrontation involving Iranian forces and a U.S.-flagged commercial vessel in the Strait of Hormuz. That strait is one of the most strategically critical shipping lanes on Earth, through which nearly a fifth of the world's oil supply passes. The U.S. military says 2 Iranian Revolutionary Guard boats, along with an Iranian Mohajer drone, aggressively approached the merchant vessel MV Stena Imperative. Navy Captain Tim Hawkins says the Iranian units moved at high speed and threatened to board and seize the tanker. The situation escalated rapidly until a U.S. Navy destroyer, the USS McFall, moved in to escort the vessel. According to Central Command, the presence of the U.S. warship forced a de-escalation, allowing the tanker to continue its journey safely. The Pentagon says these actions form part of a broader pattern of Iranian harassment of commercial shipping in the region. Meanwhile, the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group is now fully deployed across the Middle East. The strike group includes the carrier itself, capable of carrying up to 90 aircraft and more than 3,000 personnel. It is escorted by multiple destroyers, including the USS Frank E. Peterson Jr., USS Spruance, and USS Michael Murphy. U.S. officials say the deployment is part of Washington's pressure campaign against the Iranian regime, aimed at deterring further escalation. Iran, however, maintains its drone was operating lawfully and insists it was the victim of an unjustified military strike. With investigations underway on both sides, the risk of miscalculation remains dangerously high. And as both nations double down on their narratives, the question now is not what happened, but what comes next.
Checkmate. That's the question now confronting Washington. Can the United States strike Iran without using regional allies as a launch pad? According to multiple reports, the answer is increasingly no. Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Kuwait, Iraq, Jordan, and Oman have all formally or privately informed Washington they will not allow their airspace, land, or territorial waters to be used for any attack on Iran. The same message has come from Azerbaijan, Turkey, and Pakistan. Remove Armenia and Turkmenistan, both strategic partners of Tehran, and Afghanistan, where U.S. ties remain deeply strained, and the picture becomes clear. The United States is effectively boxed out of Iran from every geographic direction. That leaves Washington with just two realistic military options. The first, striking Iran from offshore. That would mean using a U.S. Navy armada in the Arabian Sea or long-range bombers flying from Diego Garcia, threading attacks through the narrow strip of the Gulf of Oman that lies just outside Allies' 12 nautical mile territorial limits. But the vulnerabilities are obvious. Iran can concentrate its air defenses along this single approach vector. U.S. carrier-based F-35s armed with JASSM-ER missiles have a standoff range of roughly 925 kilometers, while Iran fields anti-ship cruise missiles with ranges exceeding 1,000 kilometers and drones capable of flying up to 4,000 kilometers. Iranian surveillance drones have already been spotted monitoring the USS Abraham Lincoln Strike Group. Meanwhile, U.S. bombers operating from Diego Garcia would be nearly 4,000 kilometers from Iran's southern coast and more than 5,000 kilometers from Tehran. Even with dozens of precision missiles per aircraft, analysts say the firepower would not be sufficient to cripple a major military power like Iran or prevent retaliation. The second option is far riskier. Ignore allies' objections and attack Iran using their territory anyway. That would signal to partners across the Middle East that U.S. security guarantees cannot be trusted. It would sharply raise the risk of a regional war, including Iranian retaliation and the potential closure of the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point through which roughly 20% of the world's oil supply flows. And it could trigger widespread backlash, protests, demands for U.S. troop withdrawals, and militia attacks on American bases, echoing the chaos seen in Iraq in 2020. What it would not produce, analysts warn, is a Libya-style regime change scenario. Iran has already demonstrated its ability to crush violent unrest at home. Any U.S. strike would guarantee something else instead, a deadly and diplomatically disastrous response. That's the strategic dilemma facing President Donald Trump. Since issuing his initial warnings, Trump has publicly called for new leadership in Iran, while also urging Tehran to negotiate a new nuclear deal. Behind the scenes, he has reportedly asked his generals for decisive military options. The president has previously favored swift, targeted strikes against ISIS, against Iranian nuclear facilities, and against Houthi forces in Yemen. But he has also shown a willingness to pursue prolonged pressure campaigns, as seen in Venezuela. Which brings Washington back to the same conclusion. There is no clean strike, no contained war, and no easy exit. In this geopolitical standoff, the board is set, and every move carries global consequences.